Hey, in this video I'll show you how I painted this quick fantasy sketch, and it took roughly 1.5 hours to complete the whole thing. My name is Victor, I'm a concept artist, I work for film and games. I'm really excited to show you guys the final result. So let's get started. I'm beginning with a very simple cliff right here in the foreground. The main idea was to show a mysterious abandoned temple somewhere in the middle of the sea. Top-down view, so we're looking at it from a higher ground, and maybe a destroyed bridge somewhere to complete the composition and to make things a bit more interesting. And although this is a very simple Linework sketch I'm doing here, it's a very important stage of the whole painting. So pay attention to your design, pay attention to how you compose your elements in the scene, because adding values on top of it will be easier if you have a solid design and a solid drawing going on for you. And then colors, control of the edges, even more so. So now you need to figure what kind of lighting and what mood are you going for. For me, the easiest is to start blocking in just with flat color, the background, the sky, and then the middle ground and the foreground and so on. Very simple, very rough brush strokes. You can take a bigger brush to make things even faster. Blocking all your main elements. I'm not too worried about the color hues right now. I'm definitely gonna adjust those. I'm starting somewhere in the ballpark of what I'm trying to achieve in the end. Something dark for the foreground with a little bit of a colder hue, but I'm mixing it. I'm not keeping things really straightforward, so I'm putting in some warmer colors as well. For the sea, definitely I think it should be darker, so I'm darkening it for now, but then we need to create those reflections, and the stuff will happen a little bit later. I'm also trying to think about the mood and what kind of lighting scenario I want to go for. So probably would be interesting to see the light shine from the left, but for now let's block in the areas that will be in the shadow. So once I'm actually done with blocking in the shadows, I'm already kind of seeing the final result in my head. I'm understanding the form a little bit better, and I see that, okay, now that I'm going on for this look, it's much easier to add the light later on. And I just want to finish with the shadows for our foreground as well, to add a little bit of form, to understand the planes, how they work, and which ones are pointed towards the light. And also notice the very rough brush strokes right now. I'm picking up a big brush and I'm marking roughly the areas that are in the shadow. And by the way, guys, don't forget there is a free brush pack in the description, so feel free to grab it. And right now I'm not trying to push any specific area into more detail and more refinement, but I'm trying to keep a balanced image going on. So working a little bit on the foreground, and then gonna push the middle ground and the background a little bit more, and then we'll have a look from afar at the whole composition and see our progress. Now let's indicate that sunlight coming from the left, and again with a texture brush. I always look for a bit of a painterly feel, just indicating roughly where I want the light to create the biggest contrast, right? Because we want to have a focal point, and my focal point I'm thinking is going to be right there in the middle where the entrance to the temple is. So I'm gonna achieve that by creating contrast of value. Another thing is that I definitely want to create the illusion of water, and in order to achieve that, you just want to make sure that the temple and the bridge is reflected in the water plane. If you might be struggling in the beginning, just don't forget that you can grab some reference images from the internet and kind of try to replicate what you see there. But as long as you're semi-accurate with these reflections, it should definitely be easy to indicate that this is a water plane. Time to work a little bit on our focal point. We want to sculpt a few more planes in there and make sure that the viewer will understand how this whole thing is constructed, right? So we have planes that are facing the light, planes that are completely in the shadow, and planes that are affected by the light coming from the sky. Right now I'm trying to indicate at least a little bit of a structure going on over there, so maybe some sculptures, like huge ones in front of the entrance of the temple. And I'm gonna be very rough about it. It's not about detailing for half an hour those sculptures. And I'm gonna roam around the image right now, make sure that the bridge is defined. I'm adding bits and pieces here and there and kind of make sure that the construction of the bridge starts to appear in our image. I'm trying to show the areas that are in the light and then the areas that are in the shadow. I'm using this textured brush to imply a very rocky surface, right? So with imperfections, we don't want to have like this smooth looking. And I was thinking maybe to add some interest to the rocks and create some sort of ornaments, but then I figured it might not work. So I dropped that idea pretty fast. For now, I'm going to continue sculpting some of the planes around our focal area. So I'll try to define this temple a little bit better, make sure that everything is understandable in terms of structure specifically. And also I'm thinking that I should add some sort of waves for our sea, for our plane, water plane, and I'll try to figure out some shapes that will kind of connect and unify the whole thing together, and also we'll be able to add a little bit more depth that I think is lacking right now. Everything seems a little bit too disjointed. Alright, and there it is, the final image. Overall, I spent an hour and a half, maybe an hour and 40 minutes on the whole thing. For the final image, I also calibrated the colors a little bit, so everything is slightly more consistent. Yeah, I didn't spend too much time on anything else, but maybe added a little bit of a texture for the whole plane with the sea, just to make things a bit more interesting in the areas that are like very calm. I hope you enjoyed this process, and thank you so much for watching till the end. If you did, please consider liking and subscribing, it helps a lot, and I'll see you in the next video, coming soon.